Have just gotten word that former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a grand jury on charges of lying and of obstruction of justice. The case is, of course, all tied to Comey's 2020 testimony to Congress, we believe, about ties between Russia and Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Attorney General Pam Bondi just posted minutes ago, "No one is above the law." Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case where they go. That is the statement just moments ago from Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was in the Oval Office literally with President Trump by his side, was asked by reporters if, in fact, this indictment was coming down today, and she at that point said no comment. This is huge news. This is the first senior government official to face federal charges in one of President Trump's largest complaints about that 2016 investigation into him and to whether his campaign colluded with Russia. He has been on the warpath, so to speak, to clear his name and reputation and to make people who he views responsible for launching that investigation into him pay for their crimes, especially if, in fact, they have committed said crimes. Joe Khalil is live for us on Capitol Hill with the very latest. Joe, what are you hearing about this indictment? We haven't actually seen it yet, so we don't know precisely if this is around his congressional testimony or around leaks of things that he gave once he was fired by President Trump in 2017.
Yeah, so that's uncertain because we haven't actually seen the indictment. What we do know, just for starters, Elizabeth, is that this is a historic moment. This is the former FBI Director, James Comey, who is now charged or indicted with making a false statement and then obstructing. What has been talked about is his 2020 before he came to the Senate and actually testified before Congress. He was testifying about the 2016 investigation into President Trump's campaign and whether there were any ties between that and Russia. So there was at least enough there for a grand jury to find that they could pursue potential charges. That is ultimately what an indictment is in a grand jury. So that's what's at the heart of this case, Elizabeth. Under the surface are questions, as you raised, as to whether or not this is really President Trump going after his political rivals as he sees them, because this is not simply happening in a vacuum. If we can put up what President Trump said just a couple of days ago on Truth Social, he directly asked the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to prosecute and to go after James Comey and others. He says, "Pam, I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing's being done. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James? They are all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done." And then he went on to say, "They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served." What we also know is that the former U.S. attorney, as of just a couple of days ago, Eric Siebert, was removed from his role. He was fired for not moving forward and bringing charges. We know that because President Trump said so directly when asked about it in the Oval Office more than once, and that is what happened. Siebert has been replaced by Lindsay Halligan, who is the new U.S. attorney now bringing this case forward. She was a personal attorney for President Trump not so long ago. So with all of that, again, not happening in a vacuum, you also have the fact that James Comey testified before Congress almost 5 years ago to the day. It will be 5 years this coming Tuesday, Elizabeth. Why is that important? Because that is the day, next week, Tuesday, when the statute of limitations would have run out. If, and we're assuming here, if the charge is for his testimony before Congress, and that is the allegation that he made a false statement under oath to Congress, the statute of limitations runs out. The clock was ticking, so they needed to bring this indictment forward, and they had very few days left to actually do it.
And Joe, which we think it must be because obstruction of justice, obviously, I mean, failure, lying under oath, obviously sounds like it must refer to that testimony and therefore that statute of limitations coming up. But Eric Siebert either resigned by his story or was fired, according to President Trump, because he refused to go forward with this indictment. He had said, according to reports, that he didn't feel there was enough evidence of wrongdoing. That raises questions. Did Pam Bondi and Lindsay Halligan, in the few days she's been in the job, find new evidence, or what happened?
There's been a lot of reporting around Siebert and his motivations to not bring this case forward, and those motivations that there may not have been enough evidence in his view, that this wasn't a real solid case. And that reporting was confirmed by President Trump himself in one of his Truth Social posts. He referenced the fact that the U.S. attorney, referring to Siebert, didn't think that there was enough evidence to move forward with the case. President Trump clearly disagreed and made that known. So again, at the heart of this case is this charge that Comey is now facing, this indictment. But when you look beneath the surface, this is what President Trump has been saying he wanted to happen. He removed a U.S. attorney for not making this happen, and the new person that he installed in his place, Lindsay Halligan, has apparently moved forward, and now we do have this indictment. So again, without seeing it, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but there's obviously a lot there to go through, a lot of questions it raises, and ultimately the biggest question is what is going to be James Comey's fate as this plays out.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.